If you feel like you are constantly running but never actually moving forward, then this is for you. We're about to break down the exact system that some of the world's most effective people use to get absolute control over their time, their focus, and ultimately, their lives.
The reason you feel overwhelmed and busy all the time isn't that you have too many tasks, it's that you're prioritizing the wrong ones. We'll show you the single, most powerful decision-making framework that instantly sorts your entire life into 4 crystal-clear action zones.
And that brings us right to the heart of the problem, a concept I call the busyness paradox. It's this wild, counterintuitive idea that the secret to becoming truly productive isn't about doing more faster. Nope. It's about intentionally ignoring the very things that feel the most urgent. I know, it sounds crazy, but getting this is the one thing that separates the truly effective from the merely busy. So why is this so hard? I mean, really, why does our brain consistently choose wrong? When you're faced with what's actually important for your future versus what's screaming for your attention right now, why does the screaming win? Well, listen, it is not a failure of your willpower. It's a failure of your system. It's a neurological trap, a default setting in your brain that prioritizes the satisfying little ping of a new notification over the hard, focused work that actually changes your life. Understanding this trap is step 1 to getting out of it.
Okay, here's our game plan for this masterclass. First, we're going to diagnose what's called the tyranny of the urgent to really get why we're all stuck. Then, we'll build out the elegant and frankly genius framework of the 4 action zones. From there, we'll get into the neuroscience of why it works so well. We're basically going to hack your brain's focus. After that, I'll give you a super simple 3-step daily system to put it all into practice. And finally, we'll pull it all together so you can master what we call high leverage living for good.
Let's be crystal clear about something. Feeling busy all the time is not a personal failing. It's a condition. You are living under the tyranny of the urgent. It's a state where your day is completely controlled by other people's priorities, not your own. And we've got to diagnose this properly before we can prescribe the cure.
The main bad guy here is a little cognitive glitch called urgency bias. See, your brain is hardwired to react to things with a deadline or social pressure. It's an ancient survival thing, you know? For our ancestors, the rustle in the bushes, an urgent threat, was way more important than the long-term project of finding a better cave. Today, that same wiring fires off for a notification, an email, a quick question. Your brain treats them all like a tiny threat, and it defaults to dealing with the immediate noise, completely ignoring whether it actually matters.
And what's really killing your productivity is the hidden cost of all this task switching. Every time you jump from an important project to some quick, urgent distraction, you leave behind something cognitive scientists call attention residue. Think of it like this: a piece of your focus, your mental RAM, gets stuck on the task you just left. So when you go back to your real work, you're not at 100%. After a whole day of this, your focus is so fractured, so depleted, that your ability to do the kind of work that creates real breakthroughs is totally crippled. This slide just lays it all out, doesn't it? These are the 2 worlds you can live in. On the left, you've got reactive living. This is a life run by interruptions, fueled by stress, defined by that constant feeling of busyness and, you guessed it, 0 real progress on your big goals. But on the right, that's high leverage living. This life is driven by intentional planning. It's all about deep focus, deliberate action, and it leads to real, measurable progress. The choice between these 2 worlds is what's at stake every single day.
So the big question is, how do we get from that reactive world on the left to the high leverage world on the right? We need a system, a filter that just works automatically. And that brings us to the solution, the 4 action zones. This isn't just another productivity tip, people. This is a decision-making engine.
And that tool is the Eisenhower Matrix. It's named after President Dwight D. Eisenhower, who was an absolute master of productivity. It's designed to be a non-negotiable filter for every single task, email, and idea that comes your way. And its real power is in its ruthless simplicity.
And here it is, the whole system on one slide. It's a simple 2x2 grid. Across the top, you've got urgent and not urgent, and down the side, you've got important and not important. This creates 4 boxes, 4 action zones that will govern your entire life. Quadrant 1 is crisis, Quadrant 2 is planning, Quadrant 3 is deception, and Quadrant 4 is waste. Every single thing you could possibly do fits into one of these. Okay, let's start with Quadrant 1, crisis. These are the things that are both urgent and important. We're talking real emergencies, last-minute deadlines, a huge problem you have to solve now. Your action here is simple: do immediately. But
And this is the key, the goal of a high performer isn't to get better at fighting fires. The real goal is to prevent the fires from starting in the first place. And you do that by living in Quadrant 2.
And this, right here, this is the magic quadrant. Quadrant 2, planning. These tasks are deeply important, but they are not urgent. This is where all real progress happens. I'm talking about long-term strategy, learning new skills, building relationships, exercising, creative thinking, and because they aren't screaming at you, they are so easy to ignore. Your action here is the most powerful one in the whole system: schedule. You have to give these things a protected home in your calendar or they will just never happen. This is the high leverage zone. Now we get to the most deceptive, the most sneaky zone of all, Quadrant 3. This is the source of that busy but not productive feeling. This is most of your emails, a lot of meetings, interruptions from coworkers, things that feel urgent because they have a timestamp, but they don't actually move you toward your big goals. Your action here has to be ruthless. Delegate whenever you can. And if you can't delegate, batch them. Shove all those little tasks into one time block so they don't infect your whole day.
And finally, Quadrant 4, waste. These are the things that are neither urgent nor important. Mindless scrolling on social media, trivial distractions, time-wasting habits. Look, the point here isn't to judge you, it's just to identify these things so you can take the only logical action: delete. Be honest with yourself about what goes in this box, and then just get rid of it. It's not serving you.
So, now we know the what of the matrix. But to really master this, to make it second nature, we have to understand the why. Why is this simple little grid so unbelievably powerful? Well, it's because it directly hacks the flaws in our brain's default settings.
Using the matrix gives you 3 huge cognitive benefits. First, it gives you a conscious tool to override that primitive urgency bias we talked about. Second, it seriously reduces decision fatigue, which is this invisible force that drains your mental energy every day. And third, by doing those 2 things, it creates the perfect conditions to tap into that deep, powerful, uninterrupted Q2 focus.
Think of it like this. The Matrix is the ultimate tool for protecting your mental energy. When a new task pops up, instead of having that emotional, urgent reaction, the Matrix forces you to take a strategic pause. That pause is just enough time to engage the rational, planning part of your brain. And then, brilliantly, it limits your options to just 4 moves: do, schedule, delegate, or delete. This stops you from getting paralyzed by choice, and most importantly, it saves your best brain power for the deep, high-value work in Quadrant 2. It literally creates the perfect setup for getting into a state of flow.
All right, theory's great, but execution is what counts. Let's turn all this into a simple, high-impact daily routine that you can start using tomorrow morning. This is your 3-step system for taking back your day.
The whole system is built on 3 daily habits. That's it. First, the urgent/important audit to get total clarity. Second is what I call the firewall to protect your deep work time. And third, the daily matrix review, which creates this amazing feedback loop so you're always improving. Step 1 is the audit. Before you check a single email, before you react to anything, do a full task dump. Get everything out of your head and onto a page. Then, right away, you categorize every single item into one of the 4 quadrants. Is it a Q1 crisis, a Q2 plan, a Q3 deception, or a Q4 waste? No exceptions. This one act sets your agenda for the day instead of letting someone else set it for you.
Step 2 is building the firewall. Your prime morning hours, when your focus is at its peak, that time is sacred. It must be dedicated exclusively to your scheduled Q2 tasks. This is your deep work block. During this time, you have to be aggressive. You delegate or delete any Q3 interruptions that try to get through. Any Q3 tasks that are left over, like emails, you batch them all together into a single block in the afternoon. You are building a wall around your most important work.
And step 3, the review. At the end of your day, take 5 minutes and ask yourself one critical question. What Q2 planning action could have prevented today's Q1 crisis? Maybe better planning could have avoided that fire. Maybe a tough conversation could have stopped a problem from blowing up. Whatever the answer is, you schedule that preventative task as a new Q2 item for next week. This creates a powerful feedback loop that makes you structurally better over time.
When you put this powerful framework together with this simple daily system, something fundamental shifts. You stop living at the mercy of whatever feels urgent, and you start designing a life around what is actually important. That right there is the core of mastering high-leverage living.
Which brings us to the ultimate takeaway, the core philosophy of this entire system. The quantity of your output is completely and totally irrelevant if you are working on the wrong things. Being busy is not a badge of honor. It's a symptom of a broken system. True effectiveness is the only goal that matters.
So let's wrap this masterclass up. The Eisenhower Matrix is the solution to that problem of reactive living, of being trapped by the tyranny of the urgent. And why does this matter so much? Because it gives you a system to align every single action you take with your long-term values. It's the bridge from the chaos of being busy to the clarity of being effective. And the real power of this simple 4-quadrant framework is how it hacks our own psychology. It's not just a to-do list, it's a cognitive tool. It lets you consciously override that primitive urgency bias, that knee-jerk reaction to noise, and instead use the strategic part of your brain. By doing that, you protect your most precious resource, your focused mental energy. You stop wasting it on trivial stuff and start investing it in the high-leverage Q2 planning that actually moves the needle in your life. So your first Q2 task is simple. Think right now, what is one quadrant 2 task, something important but not urgent, that could be a game changer for you? Maybe it's outlining a business plan. Maybe it's blocking out time for deep learning. Whatever it is, take out your calendar right now and schedule it. Give it a time and a place to live. That single action is your first real step out of the chaos and into control. And always remember, productivity was never about doing more. It's about mastering systems that make doing the right things effortless.